Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Carving It Up 2023 March Madness Show. As always, I'm Bryson Carver. It is great to have you in a little later than usual, and on a Wednesday, by the way. The only Wednesday shows I normally do are during Thanksgiving weekend during the NFL season, because I don't do a show on Thanksgiving, okay? We watch football on Thanksgiving. We talk to our families. We eat great Thanksgiving food. But this is one of those rare occasions where I am live on a Wednesday, so I'm looking forward to getting to it. My guest, Jamell, will be joining in just a second, but basically what we're going to be doing on today's show is that we're going to go over all the games for March Madness. Obviously all the first round matchups, potential upsets, teams that could bust your bracket. I've got one in particular that I think is going to get much, much further than any of the experts think that they will. And it's not Tennessee, even though I'm repping Tennessee today. It's a much lower seed, a double-digit seed. But I'm looking forward to get into it. You've got obviously a ton of contenders out there. Alabama has high expectations. We understand some of the off-court drama that they've dealt with. Purdue's had a great season. They're a 1 seed. Arizona, UCLA, the powerhouses coming out of the Pac-12. I think Texas A&M, a 7 seed, was one of the more snubbed teams in terms of where they were, where the committee seated them, but that's why they call it March Madness. Okay, it's gonna be very, very exciting. I'm looking forward to getting into all of it. And so, without further ado, let's go and get our guest on the show. He's never been on Carving Up Live before, but he is a teammate of mine here at the GRYD Network. Would you please welcome Jamell Crouthers? Did I say that right?
Crouthers, close.
Crouthers. Jamell Crouthers is joining Carving Up Live. Jamell, it's great to have you on, man. How you doing?
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited for March Madness. But before we get into any of that, I did want to ask you, because again, like I said, you are here at the GRYD Network. Talk to me about, what's sort of your role in the team, because you're sort of a behind the scenes guy that maybe doesn't get the credit that he deserves. Kind of like that role player who does the dirty work on the basketball team. But you're an integral part of the GRYD. So tell us a little bit about yourself and about your role here at the GRYD Network.
Well, I'm a huge sports fan. When I was young, I used to do, all the videos, stuff like that. But I am behind the scenes of the GRYD. I do make sure the website stays updated, with, the links to, the pages, stuff like that, adding new people to the GRYD, writing blogs, tossing ideas, with Barry, having, discussions on, ways to kind of really continue to grow the GRYD. So that's pretty much my role.
No, I love it. And like I said, it's great to have you here at the network. We're making unbelievable strides on social media, on YouTube. We're just adding some, a new member to the team. So we're rolling right now. And like I said, very excited to see we start in September, so 7 months into this thing. So
right.
Very, very, very exciting to see the progress that we've already made. So if you're ready to go, like I said, you're kind of our college basketball expert. So that's why I wanted to get you on. If you're ready to go, man, let's jump right into it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
What region we starting in?
We're going to start in the South region. Okay. So we're going to start with the teams. Again, I mentioned Alabama earlier. Again, this graphic was created yesterday. The winner between Texas A&M, CC, and Southeast Missouri State. I think Alabama is going to play Texas A&M. So you got a 1 seed, 16 seed. Again, as we all know, 1 16 seed in the history of the tournament has won. That was UMBC back in 2018. If I'm not mistaken, I think they beat Virginia, who went on to win the championship a year later. You got the 8 seed, 8 seed Maryland versus 9 seed West Virginia, 5 seed San Diego State, 12 seed Charleston, and then finally you got 4 seed, the aforementioned Virginia, and 13 seed Furman. So off the top of your head, Jamell, what's sort of a matchup that you're looking at in terms of, hey, this is a must see. This is one where maybe it could bust your bracket, one that might be closer than some anticipate. What sticks out to you here out of these first 4 games in the South region?
I think Virginia and Furman. I think Furman may bust the bracket.
Okay. You think Furman's got a shot? That's very interesting. So I'm just going to go and jump right in. My predictions, I agree with you. Furman's advancing. I got Furman beat Virginia. Nice. I got Furman beat Virginia. Again, Furman would face San Diego State, who I think would knock off lower seed Charleston. Alabama takes care of business, do what virtually every 1 seed has done in history, and that's take care of their competition pretty easily. 8 seed Maryland. I'm sorry, it's 9 seed West Virginia knocks off 8 seed Maryland. Yep. Again, I think this is a situation where we don't necessarily, you could argue teams like Alabama, Purdue, Arizona are quote unquote great teams, but I don't think we have that one dominant team in college basketball this season that just jumps off the tape in terms of, hey, you got to watch out for these guys moving forward. They could really be a problem.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're definitely right about that.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. But I think again, I think Alabama. Obviously, we know Brandon Miller has a potential to possibly be a top 3 pick on this upcoming draft. You've got Scott Henderson. Obviously, Victor Wembanyama is the no doubt number 1 pick.
Yeah.
But like I said, the 13 seed Furman, again, you're going to see some double-digit seeds advancing just like you do every tournament. Furman comes out of the Southern Conference. We'll see if they're able to make some noise. But I think as far as the matchup is concerned, for Virginia is a team that was kind of up and down, a little bit of a roller coaster this season. I feel like got a pretty favorable seed. But listen, that's a game you watch out for, and I think Furman advances. So we'll move on to what's that?
Yeah, definitely. Furman is, I found out, 8th in assists in the nation. I was like,
okay, so they pass the ball, they get the ball movement.
Oh yeah, they have 3 guards with over 100 assists this season. So
wow,
yeah.
Okay, so there you go. Like I said, they get the ball moving. That maybe they play small, but if nothing else, if the Golden State Warriors, the NBA taught us anything about that, it's use use speed to your advantage. So moving on to the second half of the Southern region aspect of the bracket, you've got 6 seed Creighton versus 11 seed NC State, 3 seed Baylor versus 14 seed UCSB, 7 seed Missouri versus 10 seed Utah State, and 2 seed Arizona taking on 15 seed Princeton. Any matchups, any particular players? Maybe that flash out to you right off the bat, Jamell, in terms of who could possibly cause an upset, who could advance in the tournament.
Actually, 2 in this section. I think NC State could surprise Creighton with their back guards, their guards with Joyner, and I think Utah State could surprise Missouri. But I will say more of NC State could surprise Creighton.
NC State could surprise Creighton. That's an interesting one because again, we know Creighton is a team that tends to get to the stage, tends to be as consistent as they come in the Big East. But that'd be fascinating, especially as strong as the ACC was this season.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. So I'll just go and jump right into my predictions. I do have Creighton beating NC State and advancing to the second round, to the round of 32. They'll face Baylor, who take care of UCSB. Utah State, I do agree with you. I think they beat Missouri. Yep. Missouri is a team out of the SEC. I've watched a few games of them this year because I'm a Tennessee fan. And listen, they get the ball moving. They're a very, very good three-point shooting team, which could be dangerous for a team like Utah State, or if they were to advance moving forward. Defensively, though, they are atrocious. So I think Utah State can get essentially whatever they want. And you can't be bad defensively and advance of a tournament, even past round 1 against a lower seed. So I think Missouri goes down in round 1, and Arizona does what they got to do. They take care of Princeton. So again, any disagreements, any qualms? Again, I know you mentioned NC State as a team that could possibly make some noise.
Yeah, I just think NC State, they'd have to really come out against Creighton and just hit shots early on. I mean, I've watched NC State a few times. I think, if they come out hot and they start hitting shots, they get the ball down low to DJ Burns, let him get going a little bit against Creighton's big. I think, they can keep the game going, but Creighton does have a really good team. They really do this year.
No, they do. And again, like I said, the Big East is incredibly deep. We've got a couple comments from my man Philip. What's up, Philip? He says, now I've got Princeton upsetting Arizona. Wow, so this is like Lehigh Duke back in the day. So I mean, we're talking 15 seed over 2 seed. I like it. I like it. And he says it's going to be crazy March Madness. I love this month. Well, listen, if March starts off like that, then we are really in for some must-see TV over the next 2.5 weeks. Yes. But hey, listen, I'm not discounting anything, Jamell. Okay, anything can happen. Again,
I agree.
UMBC being, again, I mentioned the only 16 seed team to win. If I'm not mistaken, they won that game by 20. So it wasn't even a contest. It wasn't a situation where they got a lucky bounce. It was, I mean,
they just came out, started gunning. I remember that game too. They started hitting shots.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah, no, that was a crazy matchup. So we'll now shift to the East region. So we'll start with 1 seed Purdue taking on either Texas Southern or Farley Dickinson. That game has not been completed yet, so they'll take on one of those 2 teams coming out of the first 4. 8 seed Memphis taking on 9 seed Florida Atlantic. 5 seed Duke, who finished this season hot, taking on 12 seed Oral Roberts, who had a Cinderella run just a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken, to the either Sweet 16 or Elite 8. You've got 4 seed Tennessee, my Volunteers, taking on the 13 seed Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. Before I pass off to you, I'm seeing a lot of the sharps in Vegas. I think Tennessee's a 10, 11 point favorite. A lot of people are saying if Louisiana doesn't win, they may at least cover, which is a very interesting take in my view. Look, Tennessee has been a team that has, got off to a great start this season. They were at one point in January ranked 2nd. They beat Kansas easily. They beat Texas easily. They've got a win against Alabama. So they've got an impressive resume, but their bad losses are pretty bad. You talk about the loss to Florida. I know they've got a loss to Vanderbilt on there. They've lost actually back-to-back games to Florida and Vanderbilt on buzzer beaters, which was, just
Heartbreaking
and mind-boggling, especially with the missed defensive assignment on both plays. And Tennessee had a pretty early exit by their standards in the SEC tournament. So losing 6 out of their last 10, not going into the tournament with a ton of momentum. That's my take on Tennessee. Outside of just Tennessee and all the other teams listed there, Jamell, is there anything that sticks out to you right off the bat?
No, not really. I just like how Memphis played in their conference championship AAC. They're pretty hot right now coming into the NCAA tournament. I don't really see any upsets in this part of the East region, to be honest.
I respect that. Okay, well, let's jump to my predictions. I pretty much agree with you. I think all the high seeds win in this region of the East region. Purdue takes care of business as the 1 seed. Memphis beats out Florida Atlantic. I agree with you. Memphis, coached by Penny Hardaway, have played great team basketball over the last few weeks. Duke takes care of Oral Roberts, although I saw, again, Duke's only like a 6-point favorite. Oral Roberts is as hot as any team coming into the tournament. Man. I don't know if Duke got a very a favorable draw here.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, they got put in a tough situation in this one, but hey.
And by the way, I'm not certain too that they shouldn't be a higher seed. I mean, I'm not a Duke guy, but I mean, the way they played at the end, especially the way they just rolled through the ACC tournament, it's right. It's a fair question to ask. And then, like I said, I think Tennessee, I'm not going to say we smoke Louisiana, because I think Louisiana's a good basketball team coming in, but kind of a game where they sort of pull away in the second half and get a pretty comfortable win, setting up a possible bet. Yes, I'm putting it out there between me and Barry. Okay, a Duke-Tennessee matchup. We're going to have to put something on that should that come to pass. I'm crying. I mean, listen, I want Oral Roberts to win just so we have an easier path, but hey, you never know. You never know. Again, you talked about higher seeds winning. Do you have any gripes with this? Any issue?
Nope, not at all. That's pretty much what I got for my bracket too.
All right, sounds good. Let's see. We got a comment here from and Philip says, listen, I hate Duke, but they deserve a higher seed. And Philip, by the way, I know him. He's a big North Carolina fan, and he was obviously, I'm sure, disappointed they weren't able to get into the tournament. But listen, I thought the way that they played toward the end of the season, this is, by Duke standards, somewhat of a veteran team. Obviously, you got the new head coach coming in to replace Coach K. So you got, you had a lot of question marks around this program, and I think they answered them pretty emphatically as the season progressed in terms of how they developed.
Yep, I would say they got hot at the right time. I think going into the ACC tournament, and Terrence Proctor started to step up his game. Lively started to score a little bit more, because when I watched Duke a lot of games, he wasn't really the scoring guy, but he started getting some, scoring in double figures, which does help Duke in a lot of ways. Obviously, Kyle Filipowski, I mean, come on, that guy is NBA ready, to be honest, if you really look at him. I mean, I'm a Carolina fan too, but look, I got to give the respect to how much to do what they did.
I'm with you. Like I said, you're getting hot at the right time. And here's Barry. He's in the chat. So he's excited about Duke. So listen, Duke feels like exactly. I will say I've seen a lot of brackets having Duke get to the Final Four. I actually think I saw former President Obama had Duke winning the whole thing. So a lot of people are high on Duke right now. So listen, I don't want to face them as Tennessee as long as we take care of Louisiana. But listen, that's what I think is going to happen. Moving on to the second half of the Eastern region, we got Kentucky, 6-seed Kentucky taking on 11-seed Providence, 3-seed Kansas State taking on 14-seed Montana State, 7-seed Michigan State taking on 10-seed USC, 2-seed Marquette, which I misspelled, I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, versus 15-seed Vermont to round out the East. Real quick before I ask you about what you think about these matchups, Philip says, Duke is what UNC was last year, got hot at the end of the year, first-year head coach, new motivation. That's got to have something to do with it. And that's not a shot, obviously, at Coach K or even at Roy Williams. But, when you get a new, fresh voice in there, somebody who understands how to get the best out of people, listen, the sky's the limit. But is there any matchup right off the bat? Again, Jamell, Kentucky Providence kind of sticks out to me, and as well as Michigan State USC. What's one that sort of jumps out at you right off the bat?
I agree with you. Kentucky Providence can go either way. I think Providence, they had their struggles at the end of the season, so I don't know what they're going to be like come tournament time. Kentucky, they're up and down. I don't know what Kentucky's backcourt's going to look like, for the tournament. Calipari, lost Savon Wheeler and his other guard, for a little while. Yes, and Michigan State, USC, that can go either way too. So, yeah. But I don't have the lower seeds beating the higher seeds in those situations. But those games, I think, will be closer than we think.
Okay, so we've got a clean sweep as far as the higher seeds right here.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's see what I got. I agree with you. I've got Kentucky beating Providence, Kansas State knocking off lower seeded Montana State, Michigan State, who's really been up and down the season, incredibly inconsistent, especially for a Tom Izzo team. You pretty much know what you're getting all the way through, but they come in sort of somewhat limping in the tournament, so to speak. But I think they take care of business against the Trojans. And again, Marquette, which I misspelled once again. I apologize to the audience. I corrected that in the next slide. They beat Vermont. Marquette's been the one team I feel like everybody's sort of looking over all season long. They're playing excellent basketball, Jamell.
Oh, yes, they are. Cam Jones, that guy is a tough guy to guard.
You good?
Iguodala is like Draymond Green when he was at Michigan State. He can literally set up your offense and really get it going. So long as he doesn't get in foul trouble, I think Marquette goes very far. I'm with you.
I think they're a serious problem in the tournament. So again, moving on out of the Eastern region to the Midwest region, we've got 1 seed Houston, who a lot of people are very high on this season, taking on 16 seed North Kentucky, 8 seed Iowa versus 9 seed Auburn, 5 seed Miami versus 12 seed Drake, 4 seed Indiana versus 13 seed Kent State. Again, I'm not as high in Houston as some. I'm not coming out right at the bat saying like North Kentucky is going to do the impossible. Auburn is a team. Listen, as a Tennessee fan, Bruce Pearl will always hold a special place in my heart because he used to coach there. This is a very unconventional Auburn team coming in. Again, this is, I watched a lot of their games this year, and they played some of the best of the best. I watched the game they played Alabama. They led by like 17 on the road and gave up the game in overtime as the game progressed. Is there one, again, Iowa Auburn is kind of the one that sticks out to me, but is there a game where you're like, I don't know if this team is getting enough credit it deserves, or even a team that's maybe getting too much credit coming into March?
I think Indiana Kent State will be a closer game than we think.
Okay.
I think Kent State will surprise Indiana. I have them actually upsetting Indiana. Iowa Auburn can go either way, though.
I know that was that was one of my toughest first round predictions.
Oh my God, Bryson, that was hard for me to decide. I mean, I do have Iowa beating Auburn.
You got Iowa.
Yeah, I do have Iowa, but Auburn is not the same team as they were last year. Walker Kessler, Jabari Smith. Now they don't. Now they're really depending on Wendell Green and KD Johnson to carry the team, and they're gonna have to play spectacular to beat Iowa because Iowa's backcourt they're bigger than Auburn's backcourt. So that's kind of why I really lean more towards Iowa.
I don't disagree with you. So let's go and get my prediction. My big upset is 12 seed Drake being 5 seed Miami. A lot of people like Miami this year, but listen, it might just be God's plan, if you know what I'm saying, for Drake to beat out Miami, to advance. They're one of the lower seeds I think has an opportunity to go far.
I don't blame you at all for that pick at all, Bryson, because Miami, they fell apart in the ACC tournament. I don't know what happened. They were one of the best teams in the conference. And I'm like, come on, Coach Larinaga, what happened? And that's, I think, part of why they dropped to that 5 seed in the tournament. But I think Drake will stay with them too. I wouldn't be surprised if Drake wins.
I'm with you. And again, Houston takes care of North Kentucky. Iowa, I agree with you, beats Auburn, and Indiana takes care of Kent State. So you had 13 seed Kent State beating Indiana.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I watched Indiana. I mean, they're a really solid team. Don't get me wrong. I love Trace Jackson Davis, but who's gonna be that second guy? In the tournament.
Again, a big reason, too, though, that I like Drake is if you notice a lot of these teams that make these incredible, shocking runs, these Cinderella runs, if you will, are veteran teams that's been together for a while, that's built chemistry, facing some of these upstart college programs. Now, Indiana sort of is that age-old question, is Indiana back? And again, Indiana's good. They've got a young team, though. And so I think Drake, that they've got a few players that are like 23 years old. Their youngest rotation player is like 20. So this is a team that's sort of been there and done that, and I think is ready for the big stage of March. So we'll see what happens. But I've got Drake as kind of one of those Cinderella teams that could possibly go on a run. Shifting to the second half of the Midwest, you've got 6 seed Iowa State versus 11 seed Pittsburgh. 3 seed Xavier taking on 14 seed Kennesaw State, 7 seed Texas A&M versus 10 seed Penn State, and then 2 seed Texas taking on 15 seed Colgate. Jamell, any possible upsets in here, man?
After watching Pittsburgh last night, I was like, oh, I think
they're finding their rhythm.
Yeah, I'm like Iowa State's in for it. I mean, I have Iowa State winning. Texas A&M Penn State can go either way. I think there are the 2 games I think that can go either way. I still have Texas A&M beating Penn State. Penn State they couldn't do nothing with Zach Edey. We knew what was going to happen in the Big Ten tournament. We already knew, but still, Penn State does have a formidable team. But I still picked Iowa State over Pittsburgh, and I still picked Texas A&M over Penn State.
I respect that. Again, Texas is a team that has a great potential to possibly go on a run. Here are my predictions. I've got Iowa State beating Pittsburgh. Very close, though. I got this as a close game.
Yes.
Xavier taking care of Kennesaw State. Again, I keep saying, and I tweeted this the second I was watching the live show for the bracket reveal. And when they showed Texas A&M as a 7th seed, I was like, what? You finished 2nd in the SEC. You beat my Tennessee Vols. You compete with Alabama in the SEC title game. Bama never really pulls away when you consider what they've done to some of these teams or even lost to certain teams. They finished 16-3 to end the regular season. I'm like, man, I feel like we think about Duke getting the short end of the stick. I think Texas A&M got screwed over.
Yeah, they got shot in the foot. I think Texas A&M should have been like a 4 or 5 seed, give or take. But yeah, I don't know why they did that. They have different guidelines now with the NCAA tournament, and they start looking at who certain teams, who you beat, all that stuff. So I don't know. It's strange to me.
It is odd. And I think it'll be an interstate matchup, Texas A&M versus Texas, who takes care of Colgate in the Midwest region. So again, no upsets here. All higher seeds winning. Again, the upsets are going to be few and far between, I think, in this tournament compared to years past. Moving on now to the West region. You got 1 seed Kansas, the defending national champions, who, by the way, I did predict to win the national championship last year. I had a terrible bracket, but I got that one right. So I'm gonna hang my hat on that one. Gonna hang my hat. They take on 16 seed Howard, 8 seed Arkansas takes on 9 seed Illinois, 5 seed St. Mary's takes on 12 seed VCU, and 4 seed UConn takes on 13 seed Iona. Again, I'm not smelling upset, but is there one, maybe a VCU St. Mary's, an Iona UConn that jumps off the bat? Jumps right out, you, Jamell?
I think UConn Iona is just going to be a great game from a standpoint that they're playing in Albany, and there's going to be a sold out crowd for that. But St. Mary's VCU can go either way. I do have VCU upsetting St. Mary's for, yeah.
VCU is a program that kind of lays in the weeds a little bit, but you look up every March, and here they are in the big dance. To their credit, they're well coached. They've got they're deep. So I'm not discounting that for even a second. Here are my predictions for the first half of the West region. I got Iona beating UConn straight up, Jamell. Iona, coached by Rick Pitino. He's been there. He's done that.
Yeah,
this is a smart basketball team. This is a team that doesn't turn the ball over. All the qualities for Cinderella teams, Iona's got it. I know everybody likes UConn. I saw it. Joe Lenari's talking about UConn going on a run.
I like UConn, man.
I don't buy it, man.
You know what? If Iona beats UConn, I am going to be mad. I am, because I do have UConn going very far in the tournament. But anyway,
Well, since I've got them out in the first round, how far are we talking?
I'm talking like Final Four.
Wow.
As in, like if Adama Sanogo can really be consistent, not bring in foul trouble, if their backup center Klingen can come in and really like disturb, defenses, and if Hawkins can be consistent in the tournament and score 20 plus most games, they have a shot. But I'd be upset if Iona wins.
Sure. No, that would be a big time bracket buster if you got into the Final Four. That would definitely take some points off. So like I said, Kansas faces Arkansas. Kansas, Arkansas in the round of 32. St. Mary's does beat VCU, I believe, and they will take on 13 seed Iona with the possible potential of a Cinderella story team. Moving on to the second half of the West region, you've got 6 seed TCU versus either Arizona State or Nevada. 3 seed Gonzaga versus 14 seed Grand Canyon, 7 seed Northwestern versus 10 seed Boise State, and 2 seed UCLA taking on 15 seed UNC Asheville. Again, like I said, right off the bat, is there, possibly ASU Nevada maybe in the first 4 that could beat a TCU. I kind of like TCU. Gonzaga coming into the tournament with some momentum, especially they can score the ball as well as anybody in the country. I get it. People talk about the conference play plan. I don't care. It tends to translate. If years past, Drew Timme is one of the better veteran players in the country. Again, somebody else who's been there who's done that. Again, Gonzaga looking there for their first ever national championship, and certainly we're not used to seeing them as a 3 seed. So maybe there's that added motivation of being an underdog that comes into play against Grand Canyon to start the tournament. Again, any matchups that jump out at you?
I don't see any upsets to me. But I mean, whoever comes out of ASU Nevada, it'll be a good game with that team versus TCU. I still have TCU winning in the first round, but I don't think this part of bracket really I have any upsets or anything like that.
I got you. So you've got a pretty clean slate here. So I've got TCU winning. They'll face Gonzaga. Northwestern beats Boise State. UCLA takes care of UNC Asheville. UCLA, obviously, they lost in that Pac-12 title game, which was a classic by 2 points. Many people that think they got screwed over by that offensive foul call on the dunk. Listen, I've got a rule that you never call an offensive foul on a poster. I think it's just an unwritten rule of the game of basketball, but that's just me. That's just me.
I agree.
You don't mess with a highlight play like that, especially when you consider that UCLA lost by 2. It just listen, if they beat Arizona, are we possibly talking about them as a 1 seed? Maybe.
Very possible.
Look, you've got Jaquez, you've got Tiger Campbell, again, 2 guys who led them from the first 4 to the final 4 a couple years ago. So look, this UCLA team that's got veteran presence, well coached, and a team that has the potential to go deep in the tournament. Let's see, Ryan Flowers, what's up, Ryan? Clutch Sports Talk. He's got Bama, I assume, to win the tournament. Listen, a lot of people do. I think my dad just did his bracket. He's got Alabama winning it all in 2023. Out of these matchups, again, do you see any sort of upsets happening? Do you disagree with any of my picks by any chance?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, that's a clean one. I think all the higher seeds win.
All right, higher seeds win. So let's see. That's all for the round of 64. So first round done. Let's move on to the second round. Let's move on to the round of 32. Starting again, going back to the South region. We got 1 seed Alabama taking on 9 seed West Virginia. 5 seed San Diego State taking on 13 seed. We agreed on this one. Furman to win their game to advance. They'll take on San Diego State. 6 seed Creighton versus 3 seed Baylor, who just won the national championship a couple of years ago. I forgot to mention 10 seed Utah State, who I've got upsetting in the first round, and then they'll take on 2 seed Arizona. Maybe an upset. Or do we think Furman maybe could do something crazy and be the Oral Roberts of a couple of years ago? Who was that team last year? St. Peter's, I think it was, that went deep in the tournament. Is there any potential here as a 13 seed?
No, I think San Diego will pull that one off. I don't see any upsets in this part of the region. I think all of the higher seeds will advance in this whole situation.
All the higher seeds advance. So let's see. Before I get to that, I got a couple of comments here. Ryan says, "Be careful of Boise. Don't sleep on the Mountain West teams." I'm with you.
Without a doubt. Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's very true. Boise State is playing San Diego State, and so I agree. Yep.
You gotta watch out. You gotta watch out. I agree. Alabama beats West Virginia. San Diego State ends Furman's potential Cinderella run. 6 seed Creighton falls to 3 seed Baylor, and Arizona takes care of Utah State in short order. That Baylor-Arizona matchup could be a dandy in the Sweet 16.
Yes.
That is, with the way those teams can score the basketball, that could be a possible attract me, especially for how they control the pace of the game.
Yeah, those guards, the way they push the ball. Yes, I agree.
You got to watch out for. So, any disagreements here? Any issues with how I've got this thing lining up?
Not at all. Yep, all the right ones are advancing.
No Furman, right? We're done with Furman.
No. Yeah, we're done with Furman.
We're done with Furman.
Yeah, we're done.
All right. Yeah. All right. No offense, Furman. All right. We'll move on to the East region, round of 32. You got 1 seed Purdue, 8 seed Memphis, 5 seed Duke taking on my Vols, 4 seed Tennessee, 6 seed Kentucky taking on 3 seeds Kansas State, and then 7 seed Michigan State taking on 2 seed Marquette. These are some good ones. Memphis, I think, has a potential to possibly make some noise, upset Purdue. Duke and Tennessee. I'm not confident in the slightest bit about this one, but I've still got my hopes up to a certain degree. Kentucky, we know their history in recent years of losing in early rounds. So Kansas State could possibly, I know they're the higher seed, but possibly, sweep the rug out from under them. And again, Marquette, I'm totally with you. That is a team to watch out for as the tournament wears on. Anything sticks out to you for a potential upset? Now, again, there's not a huge gap outside of Purdue and Memphis in terms of seeding, but any upsets maybe?
I think Duke's going to beat your Vols.
Thanks for ruining my night. That is the end of today's show. No, I'm just kidding. No,
I'm sorry, man. Zakai Ziegler
that's a killer
Jeremy
loss.
Roach is going to be a huge part of, I think, why, Duke's able to advance. I'm sorry.
And for you to say that as a North Carolina fan, it's just...
Yeah, I am a Carolina fan, but I'm just looking at matchups. I think Jeremy Roach is able to run the offense more efficiently. If Zakai Ziegler is there, it disrupts Duke's offensive flow.
Yeah, Zakai Ziegler tearing his ACL against Arkansas late in the season was an absolute
that hurts, man.
Ryan Flower has Memphis upsetting Purdue. I don't
if Anthony Hardaway can figure out Zach Edey and slowing him down, then they
might go far.
Yeah, right. They have a shot. I mean, I like Kedrick Davis. I like that Memphis team, but I don't think Memphis is the team that slows up Purdue.
I agree, because I do have Purdue winning against Memphis. I'm going to close my eyes and predict Tennessee. I have, again, zero confidence in this pick whatsoever. Probably the least confidence I have in any pick in the entire tournament, but I've got my Vols advanced to Sweet 16. Maybe part of it is just pure stubbornness, just because I predicted them before the year to go to the Sweet 16 and no further than that. I hated that we drew Duke, and that's part of the reason I was mad Duke wasn't a higher seed. A, because I think they deserved it, and B, because I knew it hurt us. should we match up with them on Saturday evening? So that's. But I'm gonna close my eyes, take Tennessee, hope that that Santiago Vescovi gets hot. That some of the wings
I was gonna say,
James.
Yeah, if Vescovi comes out gunning, then it's gonna be a game. I will say that. Oh, you picked Kentucky to beat Kansas State. Ooh, that's it can happen. I definitely. I mean, I picked Kansas State. I think Kansas State's guards is going to really have to outplay Kentucky's guards. Kansas State doesn't have anyone for Oscar Tshiebwe, but hey, what are you gonna do? Tshiebwe's a double machine.
He's a double machine. And again, there's a potential he could have very well been. Matter of fact, he probably would have been a lottery pick last year had he declared for the draft. He decides to come for one more year. He's been arguably just as good, if not better, as the season gone on down the stretch. So, like I said, I think he's a matchup nightmare, and I do think Kentucky beats Kansas State, and I think Marquette knocks off Michigan State to advance to the Sweet 16. Let's see. Ryan says they're gonna run. You talk about Duke or Tennessee or anybody else?
Yeah.
Memphis. I don't know. I'm curious. Listen again for Tennessee. Matchup wise, obviously Duke has more size. Again, Duke's coming into a tournament much hotter than Tennessee, far more momentum and more healthy. Again, I think Tennessee's 3-point shooting has been up and down this season, but one thing Tennessee has, as sort of their calling card is they have been probably the best defensive team in America this year, giving up about 58 points a game. They can play a straight up man-to-man. They rarely have to go into sort of zone defenses. So listen, keep it to a low-scoring game, get a little chippy, make it kind of ugly. Listen,
they can pull it off, right? Exactly. I think if Tennessee can get to the basket early and they can get Lively in foul trouble, I think that changes the whole momentum of the game. That gets him out the game, and it kind of opens up the game a little bit more because Lively is just a shot blocking machine. I think that kind of makes John Shire go, okay, how do I adjust now with Lively out the game? So I think that's a way for Tennessee to make it a game. You've got to drive, get free throws early, get your shots going, and then I think it makes it more of a game where to Tennessee's liking.
Sure, I agree with you. And Ryan was talking about Memphis. He was talking about Memphis. He says they're going to run. Purdue is not ready for that pace. I don't. Like I said, I don't discount.
Don't sleep on Zach Edey. Just because he's 7'4", 270, 275, that man can move. Do not take Zach Edey for granted. That's a big man that can move. That's a big man that can move.
And that's what's crazy is how the game has changed so much for the big guys that can move. Like him, just the athleticism is remarkable. We'll move on to the Midwest region, the round of 32. Let's see what we got. We got 1 seed Houston taking on 8 seed Iowa, 12 seed Drake taking on 14 seed Indiana, 6 seed Iowa State taking on 3 seed Xavier, 7 seed Texas A&M taking on 2 seed Texas. I think we have the potential for a lot of upsets in this round. Jamell, what do you think?
With your bracket, I think Drake could get past Indiana. I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. Because you're not high in Indiana.
Iowa State, Xavier can go either way. Texas A&M, Texas, I think that's going to be a very, very, very good game. I don't have an upset in that one. But I think Drake can upset Indiana for sure.
We'll see what happens. So let's give my predictions right here. I think Houston takes care of Iowa. Drake, she said, "Do you love me?" I said, "Yes, you're going to the Sweet 16." Drake advances to the Sweet 16. Yes. I'll tell you, watch out now. Watch out for them, okay? Again, I like veteran teams tend to go on deep runs in the tournament if they get the right matchup. And again, I think should Indiana, advance past the first round, I think that would be the case. Iowa State upsets Xavier, I believe. I think, again, the matchups favor Iowa State, and I've got Texas A&M beating Texas. So a lot of upsets here in this part of the Midwest region. You got any issues with it? I think you agree with Drake should this matchup occur, but Texas A&M, Texas. I know Texas is playing well, but
I think Xavier, Iowa State can go either way. I can't go wrong with that. I have Texas winning the whole thing because of the veterans that they have. They have about 5 or 6 seniors. I think, having that, I think Carr is really going to be a very huge component to the tournament. I think Timmy Allen is back and healthy. I think, the veteran leadership that they have, I think they can go all the way and win it. So, yeah, once again, if Texas A&M wins, I'm going to be very upset.
that would hurt your bracket even more.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. It would kill it. It would kill it. Let's see. We got a couple of comments. Ryan says I'm sleeping. He's sleeping on Drake, and he's sleeping on all my upsets. Listen, Ryan, we know him here at the Grid as somewhat of a hater. It's okay though. I love Ryan. I love Ryan. Listen,
we love you, Ryan.
It's only crazy until it happens. Okay, you just got to let it play. I guess speak into existence. It's only crazy until it happens. Exactly. And Drake says, "This is great, guys. We appreciate that, Barry.
Thank you, Barry. Appreciate you, man."
So let's see. Let me get this last graphic in. Here's the last graphic I was able to get in time for the tournament for the West region. Moving into this last bit of the round of 32. Hang on here. Let's see. Hold on. Sorry for the little bit of a delay. Just got to get this last one in here. Live podcasting is no joke, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, yep.
The live podcasting is no joke. Okay, I think we've got it right here. All right. So in the West region, you've got 1 seed Kansas versus 8 seed Arkansas, 5 seed St. Mary's versus 13 seed Iona, who I think will upset the first round, 6 seed TCU versus 3 seed Gonzaga, and then 7 seed Northwestern versus 2 seed UCLA. Like I said, anything that jumps out?
Bryson, you know what I'm going to say.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Iona, St. Mary's.
Yep. Iona to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I think so. I think Iona's got to push the ball a lot. I think St. Mary's, they're a great half-court defensive team. They've always been for years. I think Iona's got to push it. Iona always has guards. You know how the tournament goes, Bryson. It's always guard play that matters. I think Iona will be able to upset. I think Arkansas, Kansas will be closer than we think, but I still think Kansas will advance. Gonzaga, I think, will take care of TCU. TCU doesn't have anyone to guard you, Timmy, at all. And I think UCLA will take care of Northwestern. Jaime Jaquez and Tiger Campbell, the way they lead that team, they're going to get past Northwestern. So...
Okay, UCLA beats Northwestern. So here's my prediction. I've got Kansas beating Arkansas. St. Mary's, I do believe, is going to beat Iona. I would listen. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. The Cinderella runs are always great to see. Let's see. Ryan saw he was sleeping on Purdue. He's sleeping on the big man you were talking about there. He said, "Not you guys." No, listen. I know. It's all up here, Ryan. It's all love. We appreciate
Yeah.
you. Shout out. Go check out Clutch Sports Talk, by the way, here at the GRYD Network. He does some incredible work. TCU Gonzaga. Oh, my bad. That's this 3-seed TCU. I meant to put 3-seed Gonzaga, so a little bit of a typo there. But 3-seed Gonzaga, I believe, advances. 7-seed Northwestern versus 2-seed UCLA. I think UCLA advances. Outside of a little typo, TCU losing to Gonzaga. So you've got Iona as the only disagreement here in this round.
Yeah, and I think Gonzaga will beat TCU. I mean, that game will be tough though, but I think Gonzaga will be able to pull off TCU though. I like TCU's team though. I just love, their point guard. I love Keontae Johnson, but I think Keontae Johnson's got to have a big game against Gonzaga, and if they're gonna have a chance.
I'm with you. Now, the unfortunate thing at this part of the show, that's all the graphics I had time to get on here. So from here on out, I'm just gonna have to, you're gonna have to trust me through what I'm reading through my ESPN bracket app.
Cool.
Here. So we'll go like 2x2 games. So the Sweet 16 round, I've got the Alabama and San Diego State, and then 3-seed Baylor, 1-seed Alabama versus 5-seed San Diego State, and then 3-seed Baylor taking on 2-seed Arizona. Again, I'm really liking Alabama to go on a potential long run to the Final Four in this tournament. Arizona potentially the same, although Baylor is dangerous. What are you thinking in terms of those matchups?
I'm thinking the same way. I think Alabama will definitely advance in that one. I think that game will be pretty good against San Diego State. And then you said what, Arizona?
Arizona and Baylor.
Yeah, Arizona. I think Arizona will get Baylor for sure.
I have concerns about Baylor defensively, so that's why I got Arizona to win. I've also got Alabama winning again pretty comfortably.
And Baylor's got to be hot. And Baylor got to be hot, like from downtown, also. In order to get the, they had some tough games in the Big 12 where they just laid an egg. I was just like, okay, what are you guys doing today? Like, teams were just outscoring them in the first half, and then once you're down, it's hard to come back. So.
Yeah, and it felt like it was almost a little bit of it wasn't a situation where they didn't have the firepower to come back, because they do. It felt like it was more of a thing where, you're so comfortable in playing from ahead for a while. Maybe you don't have the emotional maturity as a team to potentially come back, and that could bite them. If I'm not mistaken, that they actually made a big comeback, if I remember correctly, to almost beat North Carolina last year in the tournament.
Yeah.
And then North Carolina.
Yeah, that was a tough game. Then that went to overtime, right? I think it did.
Yeah, it did. It went to overtime. I remember.
Yeah, it went to overtime, and then North Carolina made some clutch buckets, and they were able to pull away. Yep.
And again, North Carolina ended up getting to the national championship game, and it was about to get kind of crazy there, and then Kansas made that big comeback.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Bama and Arizona advance. The next two games, Sweet 16, 1-seed Purdue versus 4-seed Tennessee, and then 6-seed Kentucky versus 2-seed Marquette. I think we're probably going to agree on the outcome of these two games, but I know you're really liking Purdue here.
Yeah, Purdue for sure. Yep.
Purdue, and then what about Kentucky Marquette?
Marquette.
You've got Marquette. I agree with you. I think Tennessee's run into the Sweet 16 to Purdue, which is exactly what happened 4 years ago. I honest to God, dude, I still have not gotten over that game. Tennessee had made a big comeback. They fouled Carson Edwards, I think was the kid's name that played at Purdue.
Yeah.
Dude could get hot. And we fouled him in the corner, and we ended up losing the game in overtime. That ended up being Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield's last game as a volunteer. Don't remind me. But yeah, I do believe Purdue.
I'm not over 2 championship games we lost. Remember Chris Jenkins, Villanova, North Carolina? That game was done. Archie Ganakino passes it, Chris Jenkins from 35 feet, and I just sat there and said, "You got to be kidding me."
Oh, you're a North Carolina fan. Forgot. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine. Yeah, that blows my heartbreak out of the water.
That hurt. But Kansas beating us last year, I'm like, you know what? They came back, cool, great team, whatever. But that Villanova, oh my God, they had a good team. I'll admit, but
y'all came back the next year and won the tournament against Gonzaga.
I know, but still, that one hurt.
That would hurt. I respect it. It's the dedication to the team. Terry Grant, Carson Edwards, the muscle shark. But listen.
Yeah.
Dude's physique.
He was.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. He played for the Celtics for a little while. And then
I remember him. And Ryan says, I like Bama just because they've got a lot of depth with bigs. They do.
Oh, yeah.
John says he's got Alabama winning it all. And John, by the way, John is also a North Carolina fan. He said that one hurt.
Oh, that one hurt. Yeah. See? Yep.
I can't imagine it getting much more heartbreaking than losing in the last shot of the game.
Seriously.
Especially after I forgot what the kid's name was. They hit the circus shot to tie it right before that.
I forget his name. Oh my goodness.
Sitting right in front of Michael Jordan, and it was that was one of the all-time great national title games. in my view.
I agree.
Without a question. But so we got Purdue and Marquette advancing again. I got Kentucky, I think, going a little bit further than you do, but I think their run-ins in the Sweet 16. One seed Houston versus 4 seed Indiana. I'm not 4 seed Indiana, 4 seed Drake. And then you've got the 7 seed Texas A&M Aggies versus the 6 seed Iowa State Cyclones. Does Drake go further than the Sweet 16, maybe, or Houston takes care of business? Houston extinguishes that.
Yeah, I think they take care of it. Yeah, Houston takes care of that game for sure.
And then Texas A&M Iowa State, 6 seed versus 7 seed. That's maybe
that can go either way. You know that.
It could. It could, but again, I'm rolling with Tech. I'm rolling with Houston. Sorry, Drake. I get it in the run. There's no Drake curse because this is just Drake. There's no Kentucky involved here. But I think Houston takes care of business. They get to the Elite Eight, which they're pretty much expected to do as a 1 seed. And I do have Texas A&M beating Iowa State again. I think A&M is playing incredible basketball. Something else too, I forgot to bring up about A&M. I talked about Tennessee earlier, their defense being their calling card. You can say the exact same about A&M. They got this one guy, I forget his name, who's as good of a guard defender as there is in basketball.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name either, but he's a disruptor for sure. He reads defenses very well, and he just jumps the lanes a lot of times. And when you have a disruptor as a guard on defense, it changes the whole landscape of the opposite team trying to run their offense. So, yeah, I forget his name. Oh, my goodness. It's not coming to me.
It's his initials were DD. I can't remember what it was. It's driving me crazy.
I can't remember off the top of my head either. Yeah.
And they've got some scores. They close late game situations well. Again, all the makings of a lower seed that can make a run the tournament. I think A&M gets the Elite Eight. And the last 2 Sweet 16 games, 1 seed Kansas taking on 5 seed St. Mary's, and then 2 seed UCLA versus 3 seed Gonzaga. We remember that UCLA Gonzaga game a couple years back. Jalen Suggs hitting the walk-off shot. To me, the greatest Final Four game I've seen. Now, maybe I'm being biased. It's recent, but I mean, that was unbelievable. That was the hardest game I have to predict this in my entire bracket. Of those 2, starting Kansas, St. Mary's, and then going to Gonzaga, UCLA, who would you have?
I would say Kansas, and it's tough.
I know. It is. Because it's 2 veteran teams who faced each other before. So there's that history there. There's the revenge aspect for UCLA. There's the Gonzaga trying to finally get over the top and get a championship. I wish this was in the Final Four again, dude. I really do.
I was thinking that too. I'm going to say UCLA.
Okay. UCLA beats Gonzaga.
Yeah.
And Drew Timme is a senior, right?
Yes.
So that's how his career comes in a Sweet 16, I believe. Yeah. That's unfortunate. I agree. I've got Kansas, UCLA. I think UCLA, I'm not going to say walk-off shot, but maybe like last second shot with like 2-3 seconds left. I think it's only right for those 2 teams to get back together and for the tides to turn the other way. Again, the defending champs get to the Elite Eight. So the Elite Eight games. 1 seed Alabama, 2 seed Arizona. Doesn't get much better than that, the way that Arizona's been playing lately, and Alabama coming in. And then 1 seed Purdue versus 2 seed Marquette. To come to think of it, I've got 3 1 seed versus 2 seed games here in the Elite Eight. So no double-digit seeds at this point, folks. I hate to tell you. Arizona, Alabama. Who you got?
I'm going to go Arizona.
Arizona ends Alabama's season in the Elite Eight.
Yep.
Okay. I respect it.
I think Tribulus has a big game. I think he goes off, has 25, and he pushes them. If Alabama wins, I'm going to say that Javon Quinterly is going to have a really good game, and I think Bediako is going to really have to have like a solid 15 and 12 with like 2-3 blocks, and is a disruptor in the lane. Bediako cannot get in foul trouble against Arizona at all. He can't.
Okay. Ryan disagrees with you. Ryan doesn't like that pick.
I know.
Ryan and John both got Alabama. A lot of people got Alabama. So that would be a big time bracket buster.
That's what I'm saying. If Alabama wins, I wouldn't even be upset, to be honest. But I just think Arizona has it this year. For some strange reason, I just think something's great's going to happen with Arizona this year.
I like it. I like your confidence. Again, 1 seed Purdue, 2 seed Marquette. Again, we've been talking highly of Purdue here. Is Marquette maybe get? It's not really an upset because they're a 2 seed, but do they get? I think a lot of people would favor Purdue. So what would you have here?
I'm going to go Marquette.
I agree with you there. although I do have Alabama beating Arizona.
Okay.
Again, I think Alabama's guard play is going to overwhelm Arizona to a certain degree, especially late in these games.
Oh yeah.
I think when you consider, again, Marquette, again, a team that nobody's talking about, Big East team. Purdue, obviously, we've had our eyes on them all season. For a 1 seed, and this isn't disrespect to Purdue, but it's going to sound like it. I feel like Purdue, considering how they got off to that hot start, and then they'd had these confusing losses kind of sprinkled in there throughout their season, where you're like, it's one of the, I hate to use this word, but a weaker 1 seed that we've had in recent years. I mean, I'm higher in UCLA and Arizona, but
I agree. I think the Big Ten, just to me, wasn't as competitive this year. Me personally, just looking at the Big Ten from that standpoint, I think Purdue was able to just dominate, in a weak conference this year. The conferences that were really good this year was the SEC,
yeah,
Big 12, and the Big East, to be honest. So
the Big East was weirdly underrated this year. I mean, because again, the powerhouses, we're used to Villanova, Georgetown, which Georgetown's been down in recent years. They just fired Patrick Ewing, but we're kind of used to those teams getting in and out of the tournament, but not the case this year with the departure of some of their coaches.
Not at all. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
But and Ryan says Zona guards ain't been playing well. Look at UCLA, almost won the Pac-12. Again, I'm with you. Again, when you talk about strength and competition, I'm with you. And again, the revenge factor I think comes into play as well.
Sometimes losing the conference tournament to get you upset and change your tune for the NCAA tournament. So you never know. Anything can happen.
Learn a heck of a lot more from a loss than a win in most cases, especially in college. So again, we got Marquette, and then the other two Elite Eight games: 1 seed Houston, 7 seed A&M, 1 seed Kansas, 2 seed UCLA. You got 2 pure college basketball blue bloods facing with Kansas UCLA. That has the potential to be a classic as well.
You said Kansas UCLA,
Kansas UCLA, and then Houston A&M.
Yeah, I can't go against those 1 seeds.
Kansas. So the defending champs get back to the Final Four.
Yeah.
And Houston beats A&M.
I think Houston beats A&M. I'm just wondering what's going to happen with Sasser and how healthy he's going to be for the tournament. That's my concern with
that. Was a big injury.
That was a big injury. So I'm wondering if he does come back, how healthy is he going to be? Them struggling against Memphis. I mean, don't get me wrong, Memphis is a good team. I'm not trying to disrespect Penny Hardaway's team. But Houston throughout this tournament, I don't want Houston to not have Sasser, because Jamell Shedd's going to end up having to carry Houston throughout the NCAA tournament, and
he's more of a 2. He's more of a 2.
Exactly. That's going to be a lot more on him. Like Jamell Shedd was a 13, 14 point scorer. Now without Sasser, now you've got to be more aggressive and you've got to up your game to about 20 points a game, and you're going to have to play longer minutes. So that's my only concern with Houston. That's my only concern.
Depth has listen, they only lost, I believe, 3 games this year, but depth has been a question mark for this team coming to the tournament. But what's great about this, the NCAA tournament, is that it tends to make heroes out of the most unlikely of guys. So listen, you learn a lot about yourself when you get the opportunity to step up, and maybe that's the case with Houston and some of those role players that they have.
Exactly.
I've got Texas A&M getting the Final Four, Jamell.
Ooh, nice.
A&M gets to the Final Four.
You love A&M, man.
I do. I listen. I don't like teams getting disrespected.
They're gritty. That's what it is. I think you like that gritty, scrappy defense.
But also they're going in the tournament with the momentum. I think with the disrespect coming in, you're a 7 seed given what you've accomplished. Again,
that too.
Over the course of the season, they were more consistent than a Kentucky or a Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
So
without doubt.
I don't know. It's some about A&M. I just like the way they play the game. I think that the way they play.
They play the right way. I think that's what it is too.
Yeah, for sure. And I've got UCLA beating Kansas. I've got UCLA ending the defending champion season. Again, I think the veteran experience it pays off for them. Again, I think Tiger Campbell's going to be one of the big names of this tournament.
He's going to be huge
as we go on.
He's going to be huge. He controls the pace of that team. And I think Amari Bailey, needs to have some double figure games. He needs to just come out and be a little aggressive, pick his spots and be aggressive. Mick Cronin sometimes likes to kind of, all right, so like he does that sometimes. He's too hard-nosed sometimes.
Yeah.
You got to let Amari go a little bit, So we'll see what happens. But I agree. Tiger Campbell is so important. And I think Jaime Jaquez, he's just a tough matchup. He's a very tough matchup. Like him, Tribulis, and Drew Timme. Those three, they can shoot, score.
They can get buckets
anywhere,
at will.
left, right, rebound, bring the ball up. So, yeah. I don't blame you with the whole UCLA and Tiger Campbell controlling that pace. So,
and especially too, I think UCLA has maybe of the higher seeds, they have probably the toughest road to get to the Final Four with the teams that they got to face.
Woo.
So
wait, let me look at that region again. Wait, what region they in?
That's the West region. So
they are in the West. Okay.
So UCLA.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I mean, their second round matchup is Northwestern. Northwestern's a good basketball team. So
they are solid.
So,
but I say, like, once you get to the Sweet 16, you got to deal with Gonzaga, right?
Yeah, which Sweet 16, we already got to deal with them.
Yeah, then after that, you got to, deal with Kansas.
That's tough. I think they get through it. I really do.
And Jalen Wilson from Kansas, man, once he gets going, oh my God, it's like, what do you do with that guy?
No, he has a potential to be good in the NBA.
He's a top 10 pick. If he leaves this year, he's top 10.
Absolutely. We got a few comments here. I think Ryan likes my Texas A&M pick. He says gig him. He said he likes A&M.
Okay.
And then Philip also agrees. He said, I agree with Texas A&M. They got some dogs on that team.
Yeah, he do. Yeah. Philip, you are right, man. They do have some dogs, man. They play
well. They play well. Let's see. And then we've got and then the Final Four. So it all comes down to this. 2 weeks from now, we got the Final Four. I think it's going to be 1 seed Alabama, 2 seed Marquette, and then the most unlikely of Final Fours, 7 seed Texas A&M, 2 seed UCLA. One of these are not like the others. 1 seed, 2 seeds, and an unlikely 7 seed. Again, there's usually one team a year that you're like, how the heck did they get to the Final Four? I think Texas A&M, again, just due to matchups and how they play the game, gets there. Starting Alabama, Marquette, who do you got?
I'll pick Alabama.
Okay, yeah. Alabama beats Marquette. And then A&M, UCLA. You're probably going to UCLA, I assume?
Mm-mm.
You're going Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Wow. So I've sold you on it.
I think, yeah. You've sold me on that. And I'll only say that because, A&M's guards are bigger than Tiger Campbell. I think that'll be a little disruptive because of how scrappy they are. I wouldn't be surprised if Texas A&M's guards really pick up Tiger 94 and have him taking extra dribbles and all of that. That takes a toll. And Mick Cronin, his rotation isn't – he only plays 7, 8?
Yes.
I think he plays 8 the most, right?
Yeah, and so at this point, especially if they beat those two teams, they could be worn down. And plus, too, maybe they'll look over A&M because of the two powerhouses that they would have played in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8. So I see where you're coming from. I think that's a close game, but I've got Bama and UCLA winning out. So I got Bama winning over Marquette in a close one, and UCLA just skating by Texas A&M. They get some big buckets late. I think.
You went off Texas A&M now, huh? Switched it.
You know what I don't want to see? I don't want to see an all-conference championship game. Maybe that might sound like sacrilegious of me as a Tennessee fan and therefore an SEC fan, but I just – which, I mean, A&M, they're somewhat of a new SEC team. They've only been around about a decade, but some of it's personal bias. That's which always comes in. All right, national championship game, Alabama, UCLA. Who you got?
Yeah. Damn, that's tough.
It is tough. Again, matchups. Again, Bama's got a size advantage. Again, Bama will have the best player in this game.
That's the thing. Yeah. And then, Brandon Miller has just been like,
yeah.
I'm gonna go Bama to beat UCLA. Yeah. I'll do Alabama for sure. If I had to pick, I'm gonna go Alabama.
I'm taking the UCLA Bruins to win the national championship.
Oh,
I've got 60.
You might be right this year.
Listen, I got right last year, so fingers crossed. I had Kansas last year, so fingers crossed. I've got, again, ESPN asked me to give a final score, so I said 66-61. I think it's a little bit of a defensive battle.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Very, very physical game. I think, listen, we talk about experience too with UCLA. Mick Cronin is somebody who's been through multiple tournaments, who's sort of been through the fire. I know he's caught a lot of flack over the years for some of his coaching decisions, especially late in games.
Yeah, I know.
But listen, the coaches, I've always believed this, that coaches are like players. Coaches can get better. Coaches, again, once you've been through experience after experience, you've got the requisite talent.
Right.
So that's why we got a comment here. Ryan says Roll Tide. Don't ever come on Carving It Up and type Roll Tide ever again on this show, Ryan, or to anybody listening. Part of it's I can't live in a world where Alabama.
Okay. Ryan, it's okay. I'm an Alabama football fan, and
oh my goodness,
it's been rough.
Are you kidding me right now?
Hey, look, I'm sorry, but hey, look, right. Shoot, the way y'all played. Whew.
What's so funny is
I'm sorry, Alabama is going on the football.
Tennessee's going.
Sorry, I mean yeah, exactly. Bingo, exactly. So
you listen. Y'all didn't think we'd be getting any SEC rivalry talk now, did you? But that's why we love it.
It's good, man. I love it. Alabama's got to get it together. But anyway.
When's the last time Tennessee beat Alabama in Alabama? Because they play them in Tuscaloosa. I'm just throwing that question out there. It's been a while, but I think we get it done.
It's been a while, but y'all kicked out butts this year in Tennessee. So
I don't know about kicked y'all's butts. We won by a walk-off field goal, Jamell. It was
that was just we played bad. Y'all outplayed
17
us
penalties
in every aspect of the game. Please,
Thank you, Henry.
Just because you won by 3 doesn't mean you didn't beat the crap out of us. You did.
Okay. I'm not complaining about that. Ryan likes in the comments. Ryan likes the little smack talk in the comments. That's what we love about rivalries, and that's what's great about March Madness. Yes. Is there any last thoughts before we get out of here, Jamell? We appreciate you so much coming on here and giving an hour of your time to talk college basketball, talk hoops.
No doubt, man.
Any final thoughts? Again, I know both of us liked Furman early. Drake is kind of my Cinderella team to get to the Sweet 16. Texas A&M to me is the shock of the tournament. They get to the Final Four. Is there any previews maybe from your bracket that you could share in terms of some surprises? And I think you have Bama winning it all, right?
I have Texas winning it all.
Texas,
and I have no number 1 seeds in the Final Four.
Okay. Well, when the last time that's happened?
I don't remember.
I'd have to. I'm Googling that right now. So while you're answering,
we've got to research that. My Final Four is Arizona, Marquette, and Texas and UConn. But UConn's got to really be consistent. And I have Marquette and Texas in the championship. I love Marquette. I love Cam Jones and how well he's been playing. He's left-handed. He's crafty. I'm left-handed, so that's why I love Cam so much. I think Texas has a really good chance. They're being coached very well, and but I think there are a few teams that really have a good shot. I think it's UCLA, Alabama, Marquette, Arizona. I think those are, I would say, most people's brackets and most people's picks. So NCAA Tournament is going to be really exciting. I'm going to be watching starting tomorrow morning.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be because you're out in Arizona, so it's like you wake up with hoops.
Oh, yes.
There you go.
In the morning, 9 o'clock.
Early in the morning, 9 o'clock. A couple things. First of all, last time all 4 number 1 seeds failed to qualify for the Final Four was 2011. So it's been a while.
Wow, it's been a while.
It says what I'm reading here, according to Bet Firm, says 1980, 2006, 2011. So it's been 12 years since that's been the case. But listen, you very well could be right. I mean, it's been long enough. So yeah, it's possible. I just think the talent on the 1 seed. Again, I've only got 1 seed, one number 1 seed, right? Alabama getting
you have 1, right?
So.
And that happens a lot. Only 1 seed gets the Final Four, and then the other ones lose. So yep.
It should be fun. Ryan,
buddy,
with some words of encouragement for you. He says, "Don't worry, Bama ain't going nowhere in football." I hope you're wrong, Ryan. I hope you're. I think you are. I think you're. Yeah. Anyways.
Texas A&M wins the chip.
Phillips says Texas A&M wins the chip.
Anything's possible, I think, in the NCAA tournament.
Anything is possible in the NCAA. Remember 10 seed UConn years ago when Kemba Walker went on that run? So
Yeah, cardiac Kemba.
Cardiac Kemba. You never know. You never know.
Yep.
Last question. Do you have a winner for the women's tournament?
No.
I got South Carolina.
You got South Carolina?
I got South Carolina. Dawn Staley gets it done.
I think, yeah. Yeah, they're
Leah Boston.
Yeah, Leah Austin's first pick, obviously, in WNBA draft this year, so that's a given. But yeah, I think South Carolina is really going to get there.
Stanford,
they got a really good team. I love UConn. I mean, I'm a UConn women's fan, but they lost Paige Buchers. Azifo was out for a while with her knee, and they had some significant other women step up on their team, but I don't think UConn's really gonna win it this year. I mean,
right.
Caitlin Clark. Oh my!
She's the Steph Curry of women's basketball. If people that have not watched Caitlin Clark, go Google her right now on YouTube and watch. She had a buzzer beater recently.
Y'all need to watch Caitlin Clark. I'm sorry, I've watched them a few times this year, and I'm just like, that woman shoots from like 30, 35 feet. Like, she just catches and just lets it go. I'm like,
I know.
Everyone was talking about her, like a year ago, and I was like, oh, okay, let me check her out. Oh, yeah.
Caitlin Clark, Paige Buchers are my two favorite players in college basketball because they both got range. They can both score the basketball. Look out for them in the WNBA. All right, you got Texas. I've got UCLA winning the national championship in March Madness. It is going to be a fun next 2.5 weeks. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely want to talk to you, throughout the tournament. Maybe having the show sometime once again if it possibly works for your schedule. Definitely looking forward to that. Jamell Crouthers, appreciate you coming on. Love being a teammate of yours, The Grid, and hope to have many more appearances of yours on Carving It Up.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Jamell Crouthers, Carving It Up. He does a lot of great work for the Carving It Up website. The Grid website. Does some amazing work for us. And like I said, is our college basketball aficionado. So again, we really appreciate him and everybody at the Grid. As we say, dare to be different. Let's see. Ryan's got Stanford winning the national championship. I respect that. I think Stanford was the #1 overall seed in the women's bracket. Although, again, South Carolina went undefeated, pretty much blew through the competition. As for, listen, I'll give my quick take on the Tennessee Lady Vols. I think we get to the Sweet 16 just like the men's, and then we fall. But South Carolina, Dawn Staley, like I said, has done an unbelievable job with that program. Aaliyah Boston's going to be the #1 pick of the WNBA draft, and that's just the way that is. So appreciate everybody stopping by. That is all the time for today's show. For the Carving It Up 2023 March Madness preview show. Again, we thank Jamell Crouthers for joining the show here at the Grid. And also be sure to like, share, comment, take 2 seconds out of your day, hit that big red subscribe button on Carving It Up. It helps the channel grow exponentially. And like we mentioned earlier, please go subscribe to the Grid Network. That is GRYD, the Grid Podcast Network. You can find, again, all of our shows on YouTube. You can listen on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and wherever you get your podcast. You can find my show. You can find Barry, All Even Podcasts. Check his stuff out. He had a great new show recently. Check that stuff out. We've got Patrick Brown. He's got the Chaotic Sports Podcast, but coming up soon, he's got the Forum Lakers Podcast. So a Lakers, kind of niche podcast. Be sure to check that out. Lakers are playing good basketball as of late. So definitely want to get that list once that comes out. We've got Parnell, a newcomer here at the Grid, the Commanders Demand Podcast. Commanders doing a lot here in the offseason, so he's got a ton to talk about. Please go check his stuff out. He'll have a new episode coming soon. Again, Ryan Flowers, the Comments, Clutch Sports Talk. Check his stuff out on the Grid YouTube channel. What else do we have? The Cowboys Can Fan Podcast. Cowboys are all over the place in free agency right now and potentially in the draft, so check out their stuff. Alfred at Parstar Jr., the Metropolitan Report, new episode coming possibly tomorrow, sometime the next couple of days. He's doing a phenomenal job. It's the best baseball podcast you will listen to. Check his stuff out, the Metropolitan Report. Again, I'm making sure I do not forget anybody because everybody at the Grid Network is doing unbelievable work. So yeah, Looking forward to the tournament. March Madness begins tomorrow. I will be back on Carving It Up Live tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. So check my show out tomorrow. A ton to talk about, the Aaron Rodgers Jets news, etc. So looking forward to getting to all of that. It's certainly probably getting some March Madness, which will be going on as we're live tomorrow. So be sure to check all of our stuff out on the GRYD Network and check out Carving Up Live tomorrow, 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific time, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter. Have a great evening, everybody. Please continue to stay safe out there. Please be sure to take care of your physical as well as your mental health. God bless you all. Peace out. March Madness, baby. Here we go. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube. Be sure to click that big red subscribe button and go check out the other clips and full shows of Carving It Up Live. Have a blessed day.